So firstly, hello everybody, good evening and a very warm welcome to tonight's Hounslow Council's Cabinet Question Time. Now, before we get started, I just want to take a moment to celebrate the amazing venue that we're in, the Indian Gymkhana Club. And for those who don't know, this is not just a venue. It's a cornerstone of community life here in Hounslow. Established, did you know, over 100 years ago, the Indian Gymkhana is a not-for-profit sports club based, luckily, just around the corner from Austerley Station. Spread over 10 acres, it offers fantastic sporting facilities from cricket to football to special fitness classes for the over 50s. But most importantly, is a space that brings people together across generations, cultures and interests. They also host here weddings, I've been told, parties and reception, but most importantly, a bar and a restaurant. So please join me to give a big round of applause to the Gymkhana Club this evening for hosting us. Now, who am I? So let me first introduce myself. My name is Taz Verdi, and I'm very delighted tonight to be your chair for this evening's event. I am the chief executive for a charity called Sea Change West London, which is a local charity born out of the Heston West Big Local programme. I also serve director of a film social enterprise called Elevate Community Productions, which is actually based here in Hounslow. And also, amongst other ventures, I'm also a director at Chiswick House and Gardens and a governor of 2 schools in the local borough. For over a decade, I've worked across Hounslow and nearby boroughs to support and hopefully strengthen our communities, helping local residents to improve well-being, to build skills, and most importantly, to form valued friendships. Our work spans from empowering young people through activities like filmmaking and holiday clubs for children on free school meals to employment programs as well, to bring generations together that in a way builds understanding and connection. So it's a privilege to be chosen tonight as your chair, and just want to say it's a fantastic turnout, and hopefully it's a great opportunity for everybody here to connect with our decision makers. So thank you so much. But most importantly, what we're here tonight, let's get down to business. So I'd like to first hand over to our cabinet members who will each briefly introduce themselves before we dive into tonight's questions. So I think maybe best to start with maybe from this side. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Councillor Shivraj Garewal, and I'm a councillor for Heston Central Ward and a cabinet member for infrastructure and highways, parking and recycling. Yeah.
I'm Councillor Sue Sampson. I'm the ward councillor for Isworth, and I'm also the cabinet member for housing and homelessness.
Hello everyone, I'm Councillor Shantanu Rajawat. I am the leader of the council. I'm a ward councillor in Heston West, and I also hold the portfolio of finance, resources and external affairs.
Hello, I'm Councillor Tom Bruce. I'm a ward councillor in Hounslow South, and I hold the portfolio for assets, regeneration and development.
Hi, I'm Councillor Catherine Dunn, cabinet member for climate, environment and transport.
Hi, good evening. I'm Councillor Ajmer Garewal, representing Hounslow Central Ward, and I'm cabinet member for resident support, communities and equalities.
Good evening all. Councillor Samir Chaudhry. I'm ward councillor for Hounslow Heath Ward and cabinet member for children's education, employment skills.
Thank you very much. Now, we've had several questions submitted in advance by local residents. So thank you for everyone who took their time to send those in. If the person who submitted the question is here tonight with us, we'd love for you to stand and ask your question directly. But if not, I'll be happy to read out the questions on their behalf. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with one of the pre-submitted questions, and then we'll then move on to the floor. I think we'll do it in that order because we have 5 pre-submitted questions. So the first question is from Penny B. Is Penny B in the audience today? Thank you so much. Over to you. If you wait for a moment for the microphone to come along, and then we'll kick off. Thank you so much.
Right, I'm not going to read out my question. I hope you do, because it's a bit of a long one, and I won't remember all the words. So can you read out my question for me, please?
Sure, I'm happy to read it out for you.
Great.
Okay, thank you so much. So the question from Penny is, when and what is the council planning to invest in the safety of and improving the experience of pedestrians? Pedestrians are the most vulnerable, and numerous road users and therefore require the most protection. Whilst the investment in cycling infrastructure is most welcome, in every case, the consequences have been degraded and in some cases less safe pedestrian experience. The mixing of walking and cycling initiatives by the London Authority and the council is not appropriate. Their categories have different needs. Cyclists will always be bigger and faster than pedestrians, and therefore pedestrians need proper, tailored protection and genuine improvements. That's the question from Penny.
Thanks for the question, Penny. So I agree, pedestrians are the most vulnerable road users, and then cyclists probably the next, and although motorcyclists actually are very vulnerable road users as well. So yes, we need tailored schemes for pedestrians, and we're putting those in around the borough. I passed one on College Road that was going in, or has just been recently put in today. So we're doing lots about widening pavements, improving junctions so that they're safer for people crossing the road at junctions, measures to slow down traffic and also reduce traffic on residential streets, because we've seen that where traffic is reduced, where motor vehicles are reduced on residential streets, that has the biggest impact on pedestrian safety. So completely agree there. Not sure about what you meant by the mixing. If you mean shared use space, then again, we would try to avoid that wherever possible, because as you said, it's best to keep different modes of transport separated, so keep people walking and wheeling, using wheelchairs, separated from cyclists, separated from motorists. So we try to do that wherever we can. In some places where the speeds and volumes are low, then there may be some shared pavement space, for example, but that would only be where it's not possible to separate. Sorry, my colleague, Councillor Gerrell, wants to come in.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, and in the disability forums, we do discuss all this, how it affects disabled people as well. So we take into view what they want, and we try to incorporate those things as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was using the term pedestrians as the Greater London Authority uses it, and the Healthier Streets Initiative uses it, which is for wheelers as well as walkers, so people of all the most vulnerable groups. I'm interested in your comment about you mix only when it's safe to do so and there are lower speeds involved. Perhaps you could elaborate on that?
So it would be small areas like where you needed to use a shared path, for example, and we would expect speeds to be kept low.
And how do you monitor that? And because speeds on current shared pavements and shared lanes and just crossing the road are a mix of low to extremely high with modified e-scooters or e-bikes when they come into the mix, as an example. So how do you ensure that the speeds are kept low in that instance to protect the pedestrians?
So we can't ensure that, but we can try and do it by design. So particular designs, putting in a bend, for example, can help reduced speeds. Obviously, when you say modified, I assume you mean illegal. Some are illegally modified, some are simply made. They're not illegal. They're fine to be sold, but you're not supposed to ride them on the highway, so on public land at all. So e-bikes and e-scooters that go above a certain speed, or that don't e-bikes that don't require pedalling for the motor to be engaged, they're illegal. So that's a matter for the police to be enforcing. We would also like government to take a stronger view on how these things are sold and marketed as well, because a lot of people are riding them not realising that they're illegal. And one further point, a lot of them, certainly the e-bikes, the illegal ones, are ridden by delivery drivers, Deliveroo, etc., who may previously have been riding mopeds, have moved onto the e-bikes because they're cheaper, they don't require license, they don't require registration. They may or may not know that it's illegal to do that. And the food delivery companies are very much responsible, in my view, because they pay very little and they incentivize people to get from A to B as fast as possible with as little outlay as possible. And they need to be doing much more to ensure the safety of both the workers, whether they're directly employed or not, and also any pedestrians or other road users that they may come across when they're doing their deliveries.
Okay, I'm conscious that I'm taking up time, so can I just check with you that you were mentioning things like bends and chicanes and traffic calming measures, for want of a better word, in shared use areas for cyclists and pedestrians, is that correct? Yeah, okay, good. And the other thing is the roads you mentioned at the beginning, College Road, I think you said, and the quiet street schemes, do they have cyclists and pedestrians mixing on those areas?
I mean, generally not, no. Okay. Cyclists are generally on the carriageway, so on the road, where we can, with a protected cycle lane, whether that's fully protected like the one on Chiswick High Road, or just protected with wands. Sometimes not protected, sometimes it's just where the road's wide enough, but we generally prefer protected where possible, but generally not mixing with pedestrians, no.
Except on the pavements, I guess, again, illegally by cyclists. That's a vulnerable point for pedestrians too, but again,
I mean,
not
cyclists
inside.
Shouldn't be going on the pavement unless they're very young, and drivers shouldn't be going on the pavement, and more pedestrians are killed on the pavements by cars every year than, you know, a tiny number of fatalities caused by bicycles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to now use the opportunity, before we go to our next pre-submitted question, any questions from the floor? Yes, thank you. If you'd wait for the microphone to come along, they'll be with you very shortly. So this lady here in the green, thank you.
This is regarding fly tipping. So I have read that there's going to be hefty fines, which I'm really pleased to hear. But what is the council actually doing to pursue fly tippers in our borough, and how many convictions have been obtained so far?
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Gill, for the question. Fly tipping is a problem in our borough, and we are on top of it. And we have made a real progress in responding to this challenge, but unfortunately, people are still doing it. Reason being is there needs to be a behavioral change in people as well, and the amount of FPNs we were issued were what we call, we give you here, FPNs. Now, FPNs for 24-25 were 2,381. Amount of FPNs were issued, but the number, I cannot give you the number of the FPNs issued. Yeah. Anything else you want to know?
So if there was a situation where somebody received a delivery
Yes.
and the delivery got taken from their front door,
Yeah.
and then the packaging is streets further down, thrown away,
Yeah.
and the contents taken, what happens? Will that person be fined? And what evidence would you have to find that person if their address and they get a penalty of, their packaging and their address?
See, the process is that, okay, if there is a package and the package is thrown, the package can be, due to the wind also it can go, and maybe somebody has not done it intentionally. But if that address of the packaging is in a black bag, and that black bag is somewhere away from the house, our fly tipping officers who check them, enforcement officers, they open the bag and then they see this address, and with that they will find that person if his address is in the bag.
That shouldn't be the case, because not necessarily it's going to be in a black bag. It's going to be thrown by the person who's taken the package, because I know a friend it happened to, and they ended up taking it further appealed,
Yeah.
and they did win their appeal because there was no evidence from the council that they disposed of it there.
Yeah, if there is no evidence, certainly we will cancel the FPN. Yeah, you have the right to appeal. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, in the white. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, straight down. Yeah, the mic's just behind you there. No worries. Thank you.
Can you hear? Yeah. I'm following on from what the lady was saying about fly tipping, and I live in Hounslow West, and I know that some of the area belongs to private people, so the council doesn't have much say in the matter. However, I think there should be some cameras in those areas, because it's ripe for rats and it's like an eyesore, and it's really horrible. Where I used to live used to be a beautiful area, and all of a sudden it has gone downhill in terms of the number of beds that are thrown in there. It's behind shops, so they tend to be the inspectors probably look at the front but never at the back. I don't know how that goes, but it's just become really a problem.
Thank you, ma'am, for bringing this up. I know what you're talking about and the exact spot you're talking about. It's the rubbish behind the shops, the new cafe Chaiwala, which is open, right? I was there last month, and I go there regularly, and we done a video on that, and we have got our fly tipping detectives who are looking into this, and even I'm talking to the leader as well, and I'm having a meeting there next week with the officers as well as the shopkeepers, that it is their responsibility to keep that area clean, and let's see what happens from there. Yeah, thank you.
Just a quick one. Is
Yes, yes.
Councillor Salman Shaheen not turning up? Or not today? So he's cancelled it, yeah. Thank you.
So I just wanted to come in on just to support Councillor Gariwal on the fly tipping. I mean, we agree. We absolutely agree with all of you here about fly tipping. It's disgusting. Wherever we see it, I don't like it, we don't like it, you don't like it. It's not us, it's not you. It is a small minority in this borough who do that. And what we are putting in place, and what we have in place already, is the ways of taking action on that. Where it's council land, where it's the highways, we have very clear systems of managing to deal with that. If you haven't got Fix My Street on your phone, I would encourage you to get the app, download the app, and encourage all your friends to do it. 99.9% of fly tips that are put into, reported through Fix My Street are cleared within 24 hours. Those are on the highways and where we know about it. So that is a really, really good thing. What the lady was talking about there is where it's on private land. And absolutely, it is equally bad, but it's actually more difficult to deal with because it's not our land, but we do need it sorted. And that's what, and Councillor Garrywell is saying, that's what we're dealing with and managing that. It's a different mechanism to sort out. We do need to work with the landowners to get that sorted, but we're very, very clear about where we find evidence that it is somebody has done this, we will find them. We take it very seriously. I don't want the borough, none of us here want the borough to be dirty and full of rubbish, and we want it sorted. So part of it is taking that action, but also just encouraging a behavioural change. You know, we want to see clean streets and be able to have nice places to live, and it encourages people to do the right thing. So educating people and doing that is equally important. And to what you were saying earlier about where we find and there's evidence that it wasn't that person, and I'm glad what you've said is that it was cancelled, the fine, because in that case, obviously, we don't want that person to be fined. It wasn't them. We want to find the culprits, and that's what we're trying to do.
Chair, thank you very much. Thank you. Yep.
Even I would like to point out that in the last year, we spent £2,794 clearing fly tips in the borough.
I think before we move to the next question on the floor, we do have a pre-submitted question, which I think we sort of covered, but I need to say it so at least this person gets the opportunity. The question was pre-submitted by Raj Verma. Raj Verma's in the room. Are you happy for you to say the question? Yeah? Thank you so much.
Okay. Hi, you can hear me, right? So, really what my question is Hounslow, as you know, if you go into TikTok, you go into various social media, it has a perception of being filthy, dirty, and what I'm hearing is campaigns and actions, but that perception is still there, and it's been there for years and years and years. Millions of pounds have been spent. You've engaged with Hounslow Highways. But we're not making. It's not really making a difference, and it's really, how can you make that difference, and change that perception, change the brand of Hounslow, to being a clean, safe, and a nice place to live.
Thank you so much for the question. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Verma. Yeah. See, you have mentioned in your question that especially the high street gets filthy in the evening. Yeah. I do agree to that. The reason behind that is the footfall in the high street in the evening after 6 p.m. increases dramatically, right? There are people coming there to the restaurants, takeaways, bars, and things like that. We have our cleaning teams working there from 6 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the evening. And it is a concern. So I am putting forward a proposal that we will be having night cleaners there as well, subject to the allocation of the budget. And the littering fines also have, anybody littering cigarettes or anything else, we have increased the fine from 150 to 500 pounds. And there are other discussions which we are making with the officers. What is the best way we can make sure that our High Street and Chiswick High Street are clean and presentable to the people. And this is something which cannot be solved or resolved overnight, because the population of this town has increased a lot, and again here there is a problem with the behavioral change of the people. People just they don't think twice before they throw something on the street. Yeah.
I understand that, but if you walk, let's say, to Richmond or some of the other boroughs, what are they doing differently?
To be very honest, and I'll be very direct on this question, it is the behavior of the people living there. I cannot get the people from Richmond to come and live in Hounslow.
Okay, but one of the points you raised was your you're looking at the shift pattern for your workers, and as you know, it's summer now, it's hot, and especially around TK Maxx, that whole area is full of restaurants.
Yeah.
But after 4 p.m., 5 p.m., it's filthy. You know, your bins are just packed. People are just walking around. It's not a pleasant place, you know, to go out for a meal.
Yeah, that's what I say. We are trying to get crews in the evening, so that whatever litter is there, we clear it off in the evening, and then even bringing in night shift people to clean the streets before the morning.
In terms of this, we are trying to get. Do you actually have a specific target date? You know, is there a plan?
To be very honest, I don't have a target date. I am talking to the officers, and when it's available, certainly we are going to do a comms campaign on it, and you'll see the video as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we open again for the floor. Yes, sir. Over to you. The gentleman in the white T-shirt. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, just following on quickly from what the guy said. So I've been born and brought up in Hounslow, right? So I've lived here for a long time. And a long time ago, when I was a young teenager growing up here in the borough, you know, there were not enough school places in the borough, right, to service the amount of families in the borough. Now, fast forward several years now, schools in the borough are now reporting surplus capacity, and the number of school places in the borough is actually rising year on year now, right? So you have to ask yourself, why is that? What's changed? I'll tell you exactly what the guy was saying. It's abundantly clear to everyone that the middle classes, indeed the aspiring working class families, are choosing to leave, right, the borough, deciding to bring up their children elsewhere, because, you know, like the guy said, you know, you come down on Hounslow High Street on a Saturday, it's filthy, right? People are just, it's too many people, right? The bins are not cleared, and you have to kind of ask yourself, why are people leaving? Why are families leaving, right? You're literally turning into a welfare borough now, right? It's really sad, because I've lived here all my life, right? And it breaks my heart, right? I've raised my own family here, right? And, you know, I take the kids down sometimes to High Street, and they go, Dad, why are we living here anymore? You know, it's that bad, right? And I'm not talking one, I've got a few kids, I'm blessed to have that, but everyone, they all say that. You know, why are we living here? It's just a dump, right? And he's right. You go on social media, unless, I appreciate you guys live in your £66 million bubble called Hounslow House, but you need to really get the executive team, right? Get yourselves out there on a Saturday afternoon, see what the hell is going on. Walk, right? I'm telling you straight. No, this is really, it breaks my heart. You got to, you know, you really don't listen. You say you engage.
Sorry, sir.
Right.
What's the question?
So the question is, you know, look, I could go on and on, but look, let me just say quickly, you know, you've got development plans for Treaty Centre and so on. That's great. That's grand. But what I've seen, it's more housing, more flats, right? We don't need that, right? You're not serving the needs of the existing communities, right? The existing residents, right? There's no, what was it, £40 million health centre that you open in Chiswick, right? There's nothing happening in Hounslow, is there, right? Because, I don't know, somehow Chiswick seems to get all the funding around here, right? Right?
Sorry,
it's a fact.
Sorry, sir.
But no, I mean, look,
what's the question?
The point I'm trying to say is, you're doing the treaty centre development. That's great, right? You need to really engage with residents, not just, you know, lip service. Don't give us lip service. We don't need that, right? You really, honestly, you just need to wake up, right? Because look.
Sorry,
I could go on and on,
I mean,
right? But look,
I
I'm
think
telling you now, just to cut a long story short.
I'm sorry, sir. There's no question there, sir. I'm very.
So the point I was trying.
If you let Councillor Tom Bruce.
Yeah, okay. So all I'm trying to say is.
Can I respond?
If you let Councillor respond, thank you.
There's a huge amount there, and there's a lot of different things, and I'm sure my colleagues can come in on some of those things. Just to respond to you directly, I hear your frustration, okay? I absolutely understand your frustration. I don't agree with a lot of your analysis of the things that you're saying, and I'll be absolutely honest about that, but I do understand that you and others feel like that. To be clear, I don't live in Hounslow House, okay? I live in Hounslow South. I live in the borough, and I cycle and I walk to Hounslow House to work, but I also work as a teacher in Richmond, okay? So I go the other way from my house. And so I get to see the north of Richmond and quite a lot of Hounslow going around. They are different boroughs, but Richmond, like lots of London boroughs, and in fact, where I go on holiday to other places in this country, all local authorities deal and have to deal with fly tipping. There is a lot of fly tipping everywhere. It's horrible. It's not me, us, you, but it is a significant number of people that are causing problems for others. So what we need to do is be clear about what we're trying to do about that. We're using Fix My Street and Hounslow highways to do the fly tipping collection. What Councillor Garrywell was talking about is raising fines to stop people doing that, to take action. The fines come back into the council, so we can use that in particular ways. We do send crews out to clean the streets. If I go there early in the morning, actually earlier in the morning, Hounslow High Street is cleaner. We have cleaning crews that go, and it gets messy during the day. It does, you're absolutely right. And we have to balance out how many times we can send crews out to do those sort of things. That's really, really important. To directly answer your point about the treaty centre, the thing you were talking about, the treaty centre, you said we have development plans. To be clear, we don't have development plans. The treaty centre is owned privately, and they are producing plans that we are engaged with, the officers of the council are engaged with, to try and make the treaty centre better than it is now. I've lived in this borough all my life. I used to visit the treaty centre a lot, still go to the treaty centre now. It's not what it was. And actually, even if it is what it was, that's not what Hounslow needs now. It needs something new. It needs something much better and more appropriate for the environment and the situation we live in. So that's what we're engaging on, and very, very clear on the treaty centre, as well as other developments. Housing is incredibly important. I know people do have an issue. Oh, you just keep building housing, 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 housing. We need hundreds of homes for the people that live here. We all get casework on housing from people who are on our council waiting list, but also from people just overcrowded who want to move into a private accommodation that can't afford it. We need housing, the country needs housing, we need to play our part in that. So housing is an important mix, plus the fact that that area can be much better than it is now. Where I come from, I walk up from my house, over the bridge by Hounslow train station, I walk towards the treaty centre, and what do I see? A big red wall. It's horrible and ugly, and always has been. I want that different. I want that opened up. I want better public realm. I want new places that people are going to feel good about going to, and when they do, I hope that there'll be more of you looking after that place and less of the people who are chucking their rubbish on the floor. That's the aim for that. So along with the public realm, along with the housing, I also want an arts centre there as well. There's an arts centre there at the moment, but I want an improved and better arts centre. Those are the things, those are the aspirations we have for this borough. We know that the fly tipping isn't good enough. We know that the things that you find disgusting, we also find disgusting and don't want. And we do. So I heard some people over here talking about, saying he hasn't really answered your question. The question is about why is it dirty? It's because people chuck rubbish. And we go with crews to clean it up. We take enforcement action on the people where we can find that they do that. But I also want to create an environment that is something that you feel proud of. That's what we're trying to create here. That's the answer to that. We cannot, Councillor Garrywell cannot go round and catch every single person. But we have to create that environment that we can all feel proud of. Okay? I think those things are really, really important. I want you to hear, I hear you, but I want you to hear from me and us how we are proud of this borough and want it to be even better than it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to move to the next question. 5 seconds, so go for it.
Yeah, so that's all well and good. So the High Street Quarter, that was, built 2017? 600 additional units of residential units. And so that quarter that was built a few years back, 16 of those shop units are still empty, vacant, right? Okay, now, I know you're got an answer to that, obviously. That's 5 years ago, right? The 16 units. Now, the council could I don't know, purchase those units, make a youth centre, make a health centre in there, do something with that empty space that has been there for 5 years, right? And then now you want, well, whoever the private developer is, they're building the treaty centre into whatever it's going to be, but there's going to be additional housing. Your colleague already over here said Hounslow Centre, town centre is already overcrowded. Well, does it make sense to build more additional housing? Yes, we know there's a housing crisis, everyone knows that, but there's also a healthcare bloody crisis. I'm sorry, but you know, there is a healthcare crisis. It's an aging population. What about the elderly here? You know, we've only got one hospital here, right? So Chiswick gets a £40 million health centre. What about the Hounslow Town Centre?
Sorry,
are you gonna,
your question, sorry.
I can answer that.
Let's
Let's
talk
talk quickly. Talk quickly about the High Street Quarter. I absolutely agree with you. It's not good enough, and I'm annoyed at Barrett's. And we're meeting with Barrett's. I've met with Barrett's a couple of times. We're meeting with Barrett's in a month or so to talk about exactly what their plan is for the High Street Quarter, because they are their units, and I need them to understand exactly what you're saying, because I completely agree. It's not good enough that they haven't got people in those units, and we need. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, and I want to do something about it. I recognise what you're saying, and I want to do something about it. In terms of what you said about health provision in Chiswick, we have put health provision in Chiswick and spent some money. We also have put in, through developer contributions, in fact, to the Heart of Hounslow. We've put in money to develop and improve. You can shake your head, but it is true. I'm not lying. You can go and check the figures. Money has been spent in order to increase and improve the provision in the Heart of Hounslow. We've also put in, last year, I think, or the year before, £1 million to Westmid Hospital in order to support the building of the new ambulatory centre at the back. To say everything goes to Chiswick, if you ask, I can see Sam over here, if you ask residents in Chiswick, they'll say everything goes to Brentford or Hounslow. If you ask people in Felton, they'll say it goes, everyone has this finger pointing. To be clear, it goes to the areas of greatest need. And there's, we brought to Cabinet last night the update on the EDI strategy. One of my colleagues can talk about that. And very clearly in there is how we are directing funding to the areas that need it most, and how we can support those residents in those areas with the spend that we have. It is very important, and we demonstrate that directly. And it may not feel always like that to you, and I appreciate you're shaking your head and you don't agree with me, but that is what it is, and those are the facts on the ground. So I don't know if anybody else wants to come in.
Thank you so much. Yep, Councillor.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one on the falling role. It's not just in Hounslow. If you see my report last night, which I've presented to Cabinet, it's across capital. And when you say people are moving out, but we do have children from across borough, from Ealing and the other boroughs who are attending our schools as well. And I will appreciate if you can have a look at our report, which I've presented last night to Cabinet. And on the other hand, when we talk about health, Hounslow, 2 years when I had adult social care public health, not just in Heart of Hounslow, we have invested the money with our outreach team as well. And we've done so much across borough. I think you've just thought about the Chiswick Health Centre, but if you come and look through what we have been doing within our council estates with health and outreach team, with Healthy Hounslow, with other bits, and I completely agree with Councillor Bruce, the money we have given to the West Middlesex Hospital. I was only there literally about a week ago, and a lot of the other work which has been happening.
Right, thank you so much. We can take another question from the floor. Yes, sir, in the white t-shirt. Thank you. Sorry. You put that. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Chada from DBBS Residents. I just wanted to ask questions to the leaders and the councillors. A lot of budget was given to Hounslow Highways to do the roads, potholes and resurfacing. That money has not been well spent because our roads, which were refurbished only a few years ago, have potholes. I did a driving survey with one of the senior managers from Hounslow Highways about a couple of weeks ago. And he took note of the shoddy works that were done by the highways. I also wanted to say that I have requested the leader and his senior councillors to meet with some of the DBS residents We have some very important issues we want to bring forward, but he's been shying away from meeting us. It would be better if he met us. He requested his PA to email me with her concerns. She had no idea what she was talking about. She was completely off the tangent. Councillor Bruce, I know your answers are you're speaking with a very assertive voice, thumping the table. Doesn't mean you're going to convince us. We still need you to, yeah, you were doing that, doesn't mean anything. Okay? That's my question is, councillor, leader, would you like to meet the residents? A few of us. Some of us are highly educated, so don't think you can put wool over our eyes.
Okay, so on your point around the highways, you'll know, Mr. Chadha, that we are in a PFI arrangement. That PFI arrangement lasts 25 years. We're 12 and a half years into that. The first 5 years of the contract were core investment into the network. When that contract was first let, it was let at one value. That's where we started. The government of the day, under George Osborne, cut that value down. So the aspiration for us when we started that contract was much, much higher than what we were able to deliver because the government of the day cut the funding to the contract. Nonetheless, we put in the 5 years investment, and that was roads, pavements, and streetlights. So a lot of the streetlights that you see now are as a result of that PFI. We would not have got that otherwise. Is it perfect? No, it's not. Do we hold Hounslow Highways to account? Absolutely we do on a regular basis. I meet with the Managing Director regularly, Councillor Garwal as lead member, and I know Councillor Dunn as well, meet with them regularly to talk about specific areas within their portfolio as well. We cannot get away from the fact that the contract has certain specifications. Now, I know in conversations that I've had with you, Mr. Chadha, personally, and I'm sorry, I'm pointing you out specifically because we have had these conversations, that you're not particularly happy with the specification within the contract. But the contract is the contract, and it's something which is better than nothing. If you go to neighbouring boroughs that don't have the PFI, who are struggling to put the maintenance and the investment into the road network, you will see that the quality isn't as good. And we can always do comparisons. We can always look at that road in that borough and go, well, that's beautiful, so that must be the whole borough. That's not necessarily the case, and you really do notice it when you go outside of Hounslow. As I say, of course, there is more that we can do. And what I would say is, whilst there was core investment in the first 5 years, actually over the next period, up until the end of the contract, it's not just maintenance. There is still investment going in, albeit at a slightly slower rate. But because Hounslow Highways is seen as delivering a good service for Hounslow, there is often additional discretionary grant that comes from the DFT. And in fact, there is a programme going on at the moment around certain roads that are bad. Does that mean that we'll get to every single road? I can't promise that, and I would be wrong to promise that to you. But we can certainly hold them on to account on some of the maintenance. On your point around meeting with the PA, you know we've had conversations on the phone. You were unwell, I believe. I was away. And then you messaged me whilst I was away for work saying that you were outside Hounslow House. I'm afraid, as much with the best will in the world, I don't live in Hounslow House to the point that the gentleman made. I do have to go away and champion the borough outside, and that's what I was doing. I'm not for 1 second suggesting that I don't want to meet with you. I'm not shying away from talking to you or any resident, and any resident is more than welcome to approach me or any of my colleagues on the Cabinet or on the Council. Unfortunately, your point around my PA, I think, is unfair. My PA is not a subject expert. She was only managing my diary. And if I'm not there, she can't book something. Why not? You want a meeting with me? She's the person to speak to. That's the person to speak to. But the point remains, I'm very happy to meet with you, and I'm not shying away, and neither are any of my colleagues.
All right, thank you so much for that. Before we move on back onto the floor, we have another pre-submitted question, and this is from VJ. Is VJ in the room? Okay, I'll read VJ's question out still, as it's been pre-submitted. So VJ's question is, over the last 10 years, I'm going to have to do this in one at a time here. How much council tax revenue is collected every year? How much is the council tax arrears per year? How much goes towards staff pension every year. How much council tax relief discounts is given each year? What is the council tax increase for each band every year? And finally, he says, like so many councils struggling with debt and face risk of bankruptcy, what is the risk of Hounslow Council going bankrupt? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay, for the question. So I'm going to take the last point first. Often people assume that councils work as businesses do. You have a simple profit and loss. The simple fact is, as a council, we can't make a profit. Money comes in, money gets spent, and that's how it works. Technically, councils can't go bankrupt. They get support from government when they can't meet their liabilities. What we are currently in is a perfect storm of increasing demand. So, gentlemen here, sorry, sir, I keep referencing it because you mentioned it in what you said. Our population is getting older, and that is absolutely a blessing. But with that comes increasing demands and increasing frailty. People living longer tend to be slightly unhealthier, and that is a cost on us in terms of social care, but also in children's and in the core services that we provide to residents. Inflation has remained stubbornly high, and that is a cost that the council has to bear. So we're in that perfect storm. We are blessed that we have managed the finances well, and we do hold reserves that we can help smooth out some of that volatility that exists, but that only lasts for an infinite amount of time. And so we are, in the last couple of budgets, having to make some very difficult decisions around how we prioritize services and what we do slightly less of, and what we need to do slightly more of. The biggest statutory spend, i.e. legally required spend that I have on my budget is in adult social care and children's social care. They are the highest areas of spend. Now, many of you may never come into contact with those services, so you will never approach those, and I fully understand that. I hope that is absolutely the case, but nonetheless, we have to put that provision aside for that. But it is very, very difficult. It gets more and more difficult. The current government is talking about a fairer method of distributing grant funding. Even if that comes off, and it's early days, there have only been announcements recently made, we are still, as a borough, very dependent on council tax income and business rates income. Now, our collection rate on council tax is high. So in answering the question, I'm afraid I don't have the exact figures. We can provide that to Vijay and others afterwards, but our collection rate sits at around 98%. So 98% of all council tax liability is collected and paid on time. That will give you an indication of what the debt is. And with bad debt, we understand that often if someone is behind on their council tax, actually they will be behind on other things such as rent. So we take a slightly more ethical view on that. We want to be compassionate and try and get those debts paid, but we understand that people have difficulties. Part of my mission and the mission of this cabinet is to be much more closer to communities and within communities. So you would have seen we have community hubs, we have family hubs where people who are struggling can go and get advice without judgment on various different things. And that might be debt advice, that could just be help with white goods or how to manage their finances a little bit better. And that is available throughout the borough. And so, I say to any resident here, if you know someone that is struggling, please do look out for those community hubs and do encourage people to send them. There is no stigma attached to that, and we will try and support wherever we can. What was the last part of that? Sorry, Taz.
The last part you had tax revenue.
Tax revenue. So yeah, tax arrears, I've done that. I don't know how much goes into the staff pension every year, I'm sorry. We do have a council tax support scheme, which does support with discounts on the council tax bill for those who are much more vulnerable. That scheme has changed very recently, actually, last year, where we're much more targeted in the level of discount. We used to give 100% discount to the most vulnerable. That's not affordable anymore, so we give a maximum of 75% now, or 90% if you're a carer. But that has saved a little bit of money and means that we can be much more targeted with those discounts to those that need it the most. And the increase on the council tax is 4.99%. The yardstick is normally a band D property, and I think from memory it works out to, I think it's about £15 a week increase on a Band D property.
Okay, thank you so much. Now opportunity for more questions on the floor. For those who haven't had a chance yet, yes, the lady in purple, thank you. Sorry, if you wait for a microphone, sorry about that, thank you.
Sorry, from Hounslow, Central, West, everywhere. I'm going to take you back to Acton, where we are. 2 questions, major question. I'm on Gunsbury Lane, and on the Gunsbury Lane, we have got a Sainsbury next door to us. There are lorries parked. There's a Princess Avenue. As I go into Princess Avenue, people are motorcyclists. They're overtaking. The lorries, they're parked with a blind spot. We can't see. When I'm coming out of the thing to turn right, it's very difficult to see. I've got one picture lately, which was just 2 or 3 days back, which is a matter to be considered. We can't come out of the road at all. Very, very difficult. Like you have to scroll on a very, very low speed to come out, and then you have to begin. And then people are horning at the back. They're horning from there. Because people are coming in the road, they're coming there, and we are coming. If you go and ever see Princess Avenue and the lorries, it's a completely blind spot. Not only the lorries from Sainsbury, there are vans, which we can't see. It's a really serious, if something will happen one day, then council will look upon it. Even though sometimes it's a double yellow line, they will still park and wait in the van. Sometimes you have to tell them, then they have to guide us. People are on the van, they will say, look, we have to come slowly to take a right. We can't. I'm not comfortable with that at all. I'm sure a lot of people, they have this issue. And secondly, very quick question, where we are at Gunsbury, we don't have any source of entertainment from the council, like yoga, something for elderly people. There are a lot of vulnerable people. They would love this sort of facility from the council. That is something, if you can see, even I myself, I'm like semi-retired. So we would like to see something council is doing for elderly people, 60 plus, 50 plus, who are vulnerable, who would like to come out. We all are isolated inside. We don't know what to do.
Thank you so much for your question. Over to you, Councillor.
So on your first one, that I'll have to take away as casework, and we'll get that looked into. Yeah, no, that's fine. We can have a look at that. So, is it supplementary on this? No, but I'll have a look at it afterwards. Yeah.
It's a completely blind spot.
Yeah. Okay, let me take that one away. I'll take that one away from.
If you get the microphone, please. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor. Yeah.
I can let you off the hook with regards to the parking issue. It is on the parking. Yeah, so I'm a neighbour. That is an issue. It made me late tonight. However, I think, and you'll need to check the boundary carefully, I think the piece of road where vehicles are parking illegally is actually Ealing Council. Check. It's right on the boundary. Please check me. But it is a serious hazard. It would be wonderful if Hounslow could speak to Ealing, because it is quite dangerous. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to come in on that. We do have health outreach events, which are specially for over 70s, stay and steady, active across the borough. I can get you the lists of where they are. They may not be in your particular area, but we do doing a lot for the adults with our outreach. And that's an answer to the gentleman over there that we're not doing enough for health. We do have our health outreach events and teams out and about so that people don't have to come out too much. You might have seen the vans around for blood pressure and checks and helping the elderly and that. So we have invested over 2 million in community groups to look after them, and we've got community hubs all over the place where people can come and ask for help. And I will look into your area, see if we can, if there's a group nearer you with 70 plus. We'll have a look.
All right, thank you so much. I can now move on to the next question from the floor. Yes, gentleman at the back with the cap on. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and councillors. Thank you. It's a different question. It's actually legible towards the leisure services. I understand that Councillor Salman is not available this evening. Am I right? Okay, so there are some pertinent questions that we have. my learned colleague will raise those concerns.
Hi there, my name is Tarek, and we've got a list of questions. How do you want to address that? Do you want me to send the list to you, or do you want to go through them?
You can read them out, and we will see if we can answer them. If not, we will just we can just take them away, and Councillor Shaheen will directly contact you.
Okay, right. In that case, the parking at leisure centres, particularly Hanworth Leisure Centre, the only means of actually addressing the parking is mobile phones, smartphones. Well, you know, that's arcade in the fact that you can actually put terminals inside the building, or even the tills can be used to register your car that you've just arrived and depart. So not everybody has smartphones, and if you do, you might not want to use it. And really, a lot of people don't use smartphones when they go to leisure centre because you just don't. So that's one area of address. The opening hours, a lot of members, and I talked to a lot of members, mentioned that the opening hours, particularly at the weekends and at holidays, or public holidays and bank holidays, at the weekends is 5:30 is far too early. It really needs to be moved to something like 8 p.m. because that's the time you have to spend doing some work, some leisure, so that needs to change. Swimming times, well, members are not considered that important. In fact, they have the lowest priority. All the peak hours at most centres, particularly at Hanworth, are taken up by clubs and other sporting activities. Members cannot use the swimming pool, therefore they cannot swim, but they're still being charged as membership fees. That's not acceptable. The health suite, many members have expressed that even though nowadays it's cleaned once a day, however, there's lots of still smell of urine and other foul smells, which is not acceptable. So something's not going right. That needs to be addressed, especially from health and safety point of view. Women only evening. Well, we never used to have that. Suddenly one day we turned up and there's women only on Tuesday nights at peak hours. Every member, especially the males obviously, complained. But the centre did nothing. Absolutely nothing. So if you must have women's hour, can I request that you move that to 8 p.m. rather than 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Hanworth? Because that needs to be done, because it's really messing up everybody's routine. Definitely my routine, as I'm a regular member going, and I've been going there for 25 years. So I know all the changes they've taken over the period is just not acceptable.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Would you want me to continue?
Yes, I think we can continue
Should
for.
I answer the first set
If we
first?
could start answering the questions first, and then we can continue. Is that okay with you, sir?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, so you'll be aware that all of our leisure centres are run by Lambton Leisure, which is a wholly owned company of the councils. And so a lot of the points that you've made there around opening hours, I can commit to take away and speak to the management there around operational issues. In terms of your point around parking, we did a trial acknowledging that not everyone has a smartphone or can easily access smartphones. We did a trial of standalone machines where you can register your number plate. That was in a limited few areas, predominantly shopping parades. That's proved quite successful, so we're looking to operationalise that and move that out. So it's whilst it may not be ideal right now, that is an aspiration for later on. In terms of women's hour, with the greatest respect to you, sir, I would not agree to that. I think there needs to be some time for women to exercise, and that if that is one evening during peak hours, that is a one evening sacrifice that I would ask others to make. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. Yeah.
Respond to that. You're talking about women's evening only. Did you say sacrifice the women's?
I said I fully support a women's only hour, 2 hours, however it is, if it's one evening where they have dedicated access to the space. Yeah.
Well, that was not consulted. No members were consulted. Nobody was asked.
So respectfully, we don't need to consult.
You just impose.
That is an operational decision, and I fully support that operational decision.
Well,
and on your point around cleanliness, is it specifically Hamworth you're mentioning, sir, in terms of cleanliness?
In this case, yes.
Yeah, so the cleanliness point, again, I will take away, if that's a cause of concern. But I know there has been massive investment into Hamworth with new machines, which I've personally tested. I know it doesn't look like it, but I have tested it. And they do work, and they are very good.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, you got a few more questions, yes?
Right,
sir?
so
Okay,
membership
thank you.
fees in this borough, they're much higher than the other boroughs or neighbouring boroughs, if you like. What can we do about that?
I was of the view that ours benchmarked lower than other boroughs, actually, for leisure services.
No?
We've benchmarked them against, I know, Ealing and Richmond, and they are cheaper. Obviously, we're not benchmarking those against the David Lloyds of this world. We are benchmarking against council run, and I believe if we're
That's
not
exactly
on
what I
parity,
compared with councils.
yeah, with councils, absolutely. I think we benchmark lower. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry.
The concessions.
Yeah, we can have a look at that then. I'm very happy to have a look at that.
Okay. Sorry, my colleague will go one question for you.
Just a quick one, and just to add on to that, even for senior citizens, there's no discount at all. I mean, it's all in good saying that we should be utilizing it. I'm paying £45 a month, when the neighbouring council in Hillingdon is £29 a month. Thank you.
Well, there's some comparison for you. So the other thing is membership fees are never refunded, even when the service has not been delivered. So the centre's been asked many times for refunds when, for example, the health suite's not working or some other service is not being delivered, for which the membership's been charged and fully paid for. And if you cancel it, then you have to start all over again. That's not acceptable. As a resident, and I think all the residents would agree, we pay for the service. We, in addition, pay for the membership fees. We expect two-way street. If they can't deliver the service, they should refund.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll take that way.
Yep, thank you.
I'll take that way.
Sorry.
Any more questions on the floor? I'll come back to you 1 minute, sir. See if anybody who's not asked a question first. Make sure. Sorry?
Sorry, before I give the mic away, I think
yes.
in terms of the equipment, in regard to the equipment that are not functioning, sometimes it takes a month or two before it actually functions.
Okay,
the excuse is that if we don't have the equipment available, it has to come from Germany or wherever, and we guys as members are not unable to use the facilities.
Okay, thank you so much. The lady in the blue top shirt, yes, thank you so much. Before she takes the question, for those who already asked questions previously, I will come back to you to make sure that others who had not had the opportunity to ask the question yet. Thank you so much.
Hi. I'd like to ask if the council could give us an update on the situation with the Waterman's Art Centre, both the building which is closed and also the new centre which is supposed to be being built. Thank you.
So for those who don't know, the situation in Brentford is that we have Waterman's Art Centre. There's Waterman's. It's called Waterman's Park, isn't it? The building next door, even though it's not a park, it's a building, and then the old Brentford police station site. So we have to imagine those as a three. We own the art centre. The other two are owned by a company. Essentially, we're working with the owners of the company and a third party, a housing association, which was announced recently as Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing, in order to bring forward, and this is where we are, the first stage of that, first phase, is to build the new art centre and some council homes, homes for social rent on the old police station site, that will be leased to the council for 999 years, and we have 100% nomination rights on those. Then the other two sites will be brought forward for private rented homes as well as some affordable as well. So it's that sort of triumvirate there. were in a position about 18 months ago to 2 years ago where we were pushing forward with that, but the Housing Association at that time pulled out. We've recently managed to get on board ourselves and the owners of the other 2 sites have managed to get on board this Housing Association. So what we're doing with them as a 3 is working through that to get fully fledged plan. We have a planning application in, but we need to make some changes to that. I would anticipate October should be when we can say yes and hit the green light on that, for want of a better phrase, and start moving forward with that, with that first phase of things, and then the other 2 to come forward after that. So I would have hoped we would be near the end game for that first bit by now, but sadly with the economy being like it is and the housing associations and many housing associations not willing to take on new projects and that one pulling out, we had to go quite a number of stages back and look at starting again, and we will have to do some reworking of that. But that's been announced at Cabinet, the money's been put into making that reworking happen, and we are committed to moving forward. I'm very committed, as I said earlier, about the Treaty Centre and having a new art centre there, and I'm very committed to having rebuilt a new art centre in Brentford as well. That's very important to us as a council, I know very important to residents.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we go back onto the floor, I'm going to read another pre-submitted question, and this one is from Ma. Is Ma in the audience? No, me neither. So I'll read Ma's question out. She said, should green and environmental initiatives funded by Hounslow Council have a stronger focus on your social media?
Sure, why not? Very happy to take that on board. Look, I want us to promote all the wonderful things that we're doing in terms of green and environmental initiatives. And I'm often having meetings with the comms team about how we promote those. I think, having caught a glimpse of the question, it mentioned about the National Park City initiative. So I'll certainly take that away and talk to the team about getting that promoted more alongside all the other things that we are doing. I think also it mentioned about wanting to get it into the Hounslow Matters magazine. Very hotly coveted. Everyone wants to be in Hounslow Matters magazine. Obviously, there is a limitation on space, but we try to feature external projects that are of benefit to our residents whenever we can. So, I mean, I know Ma, so I'll pick those up with her, but obviously, yeah, I agree with the sentiment, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Now back onto the floor. Yes, you can take the question. Thank you. We bring a microphone to the... No, thank you so much.
Hello. Hi. I just really wanted to come back on Lime bikes, okay, because it is the bane of quite a few people's life. I understand that there is a need for them. I do appreciate that. However, where they've got their parking areas, it is completely and utterly, as far as I'm concerned, illegal. The number of times I've turned in and then had to turn out on a main road, Sutton Lane to be precise, with a 4-year-old at the back saying, why are we going back? Because I can't get through because there's a car coming forward and they can't go into a space to allow me in. So I've gone onto a back road and I've complained about this not once, not twice, I don't know how many times. Okay, I also am a carer for my father, who apparently is waiting upstairs for me to have dinner with him. So I'm going to make it very quick. Okay, he's, at times, I have him, and I cannot keep reversing around. There is no space in between. It's yellow lines. Cars are parked. The line bikes are a pain in the rear. Sorry, they really are. Where they're parked, they're just not right. Okay, the little parking area is always at the end of a main road, where there's always passing traffic for the road. Listen, the benefits for some of them, it's great. In our area, I'm a little bit skeptical about what they're used for, but they need to be looked at. I use Fix My Street all the time. Hounslow West, I think we're classed as. And unfortunately, Fix My Street has been really good up to a point. litter and lots of weeds on in the ground that holds the litter. It's awful. And although I put it on Fix My Street, if they or whoever where this hub is thinks it's not enough, they say, I'm afraid we can't pick it up. Unless it's a dead mouse or a rat or something like that, they won't pick it up. Okay, and it's just really frustrating. But other times they've been great. As I said, this year is the first time I've noticed that they've actually pushed back. And it's not just once. Once I thought, oh, okay, maybe. But it's a couple more times than once.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. Councillor Dunn, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so on the bikes, I mean, there's issues, and mostly people talk to me about when the bikes are left not in the parking spaces, but that's not what your question was about. No, it isn't, but that's the same thing. Yeah. Where I've had to get out of my car, take the box out so I could drive. Yeah. So in terms of parking compliance, we know that there is an issue with them not being left in the places where they should. That is something that we are picking up with the company. We've done some independent testing around parking compliance, and we're not happy with how things are. In terms of the locations of the parking bays that we put in, so that we undertook a very big exercise on that to determine where those should go, and then subsequently there was a trial. People were able to send in their comments and concerns. Where it was deemed that it was perhaps dangerous, it was removed. And then more recently, there was a whole-scale review of every single parking bay. So your ward councillors would have been consulted by the officers in the traffic team about every single e-bike parking bay in their ward, and their comments taken on board. Now, then that was reviewed, and we have specific criteria for reviewing whether there is a safety issue or not. Now, what you've described, every single e-bike parking bay used to be a car parking space. So when you're talking about not being able to turn in, it doesn't take up any more space than a car would have done if a car was parked there. Okay, so we can look into that if there's been a change. I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head what the outcome of the review of that space was. It may be that it is one that's marked to be moved, or it may not be. I'd have to double check that. Sure. Okay, I'll pick that up. Sure. And then. Okay. Sure. And then on the litter, I mean, so Hounslow Highways obviously would come out to remove a fly tip. We can't afford for them to come out to pick up every bit of litter, which I guess is where they're getting the pushback from.
When it's food, I think when it's food, I think it's a double jeopardy, because then you've got the vermin coming out.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, food stuff needs to be picked up straight away, especially when we have weather like this.
Yeah, well, we can certainly talk to them about that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my main point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Reference to the food waste on the pavements. If you don't get any joy out of Fix My Street, you can contact your local councillor, and they can ask the cleansing team to come and clean it. And cleansing teams come out every 2 weeks. I don't know what road you're living on, but they do come out. Your local councillor is sitting here. Her name is Bandna Chopra. You should please talk to her. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions I can see flying up here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go to firstly the gentleman in the orange, I think, t-shirt. Yeah, if you don't mind being first, yeah, thank you. And then I'll move around. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My question is, what measures do the council have against developers who are quick enough to buy up these empty sites or commercial sites and then start building, and then suddenly they stop and we're left with skeletal framework of various descriptions for months on end?
Thank you. So it kind of depends on the particular circumstance. There are lots of circumstances where that might happen. If they have been given planning permission, so they buy up the site, they've gone through planning, they get planning permission, they start, but they have to stop, there is a period of time, and I think it's a number of years, that they're allowed to keep it like that. The same whether they have bought the site and have got plans but then don't build, that there are essentially land. I'm trying to think of the right phraseology, and Councillor Sampson has helped me out. Land banking is essentially that. There are limited regulations that we have, limited powers that we have in order to stop that. That is something that I know the current government do want to look at, and part of the planning reform is to stop that sort of thing happening, because it is important, whatever your views on how Hounslow Council deals with planning and whatever. As I said earlier, we have a housing crisis. I want more homes in this borough because I want to be able to house the people here, whether it's homes, whether it's retail, whatever it is that's being built. And I want a nice built environment as well, and I don't want that. So I want to have the powers, or I want the government to introduce powers and come down on people that are doing that. So it is very difficult. Where they've built those without planning permission, there are enforcement actions that we can take. So if they start building and they haven't got planning for that, we can enforce against that. Now, unfortunately, what happens in some of those cases, many of those cases in fact, is they will then put a retrospective planning application in, and that stops the enforcement process. That's not Hounslow doing that, that's the legal way of doing things. We have to stop the enforcement process. We have to then follow through with the planning process. And the difficulty is, and I understand why people would say, oh, but they've broken the rules, surely you should take... You can't. You have to take it on its own merit, the planning application on its own merits. So if it would have been approved without their nonsense, it would still be approved, and it just delays everything. And that's why we give retrospective planning on things that have started, because we have to do it based on its own merits, not taking into account the other things. Now, again, I would personally want to take more account of stuff that they've been doing and push back a bit more, maybe fine them, maybe expect a greater contribution to, I don't want to stop them completely because I want the homes and the retail, but a greater contribution to you and me and the borough's residents on the things they might do. So I know that's a number of things. Does that answer your question about where we are with things? Thank you. Cool.
All right, thank you so much. We have about 10 minutes to go, so we're going to, I can see that now the hands are flying up. There we go. So firstly, I'm going to tackle the front row and move back. So we'll come to you. Yes, in the Sharon. Yes, Sharon. Thank you.
I thought I'd ask a question off the back of that gentleman. Can you hear me? Testing 1 2. So I wanted to ask, I don't know if anybody's aware here about the proposal for Rectory Farm. I don't know where the council sits on those proposals, but just to say that we, as residents, were quite shocked. Sorry, did you want to say something? Oh, fine, okay. It came out of the blue, and it's been, I think, 10 odd years of plans. What are they going to do with that site? I understand that it's private land, but just so that, just a bit of background, but essentially it's a 10 to 12 year project, and they want to have a huge quarry in a highly deprived area of Cranford. So not just with those plans, but we've also got the third runway as well.
And then we've got a proposal that I just saw an email for today for Heathrow House to become a data centre. So we've got all these plans that are, kind of happening in the background, and then where we've got on the other side where the council are saying they want to be cleaner, they want to be greener. I work for a community organisation where we are really trying our best to connect the local residents to nature within local spaces. But then when we hear plans like this, a quarry that is going to be plans from 10 to 12 years and traffic of up to 190 trucks in and out of the area every day, Monday to Saturday, is not acceptable for me. I'm sorry, but I don't know if anybody is from the Cranford area, but I just think that it's not just going to affect Cranford, but it's going to affect the neighbouring areas as well. And I just think mental health, the noise pollution and the air quality, where do you stand with all of these?
Thank you so much. Councillor, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Actually, Rectory Farm's in my ward, so it's very close to my heart. So for those that aren't aware of it, and forgive me, I appreciate you've asked a specific question, I will answer that. There were proposals a number of years ago, as you've rightly pointed out, it is a private piece of land. There were proposals a number of years ago that got outline planning permission for a park with some gravel extraction underneath. The land itself is earmarked in our local plan for gravel extraction, so that is priority number one for that land. Notwithstanding that, I have seen the proposals as you've mentioned them. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. One of the reasons I was quite keen to answer the question, one, because it's in my ward, but also Tom is on the planning committee, so I don't want to fetter his discretion on this at all. At the moment, whilst I appreciate you'd want to get our view, as a planning authority, there is no application in. They're currently consulting with local residents. What I would say is all the points you made to us, and I'd encourage you, and I'm sure you're encouraging all your neighbours and friends to respond to the planning application, and that will go through the planning process, including to committee. So I guess I'm not really answering the question because I don't feel like at this point I have sufficient information to be able to respond to their consultation. Once the planning application goes in, there will be a formal consultation period that will occur as well. Yeah.
So if you're saying that it's already earmarked for extraction, does that mean that those plans are going to go ahead? It just depends on the development company or whoever. How does that work?
No, so the way the local plan works is it allocates sites for various things. So something might be allocated for education, not that we need school places at the moment, that's a different thing, or for gravel extraction, or for whatever sort of commercial units. Just because it is earmarked, just because it is there in the local plan designated for that, doesn't mean an application will get approved straight away. It still has to meet all the planning obligations that we have. And objections are going to hold some weight against their proposals. That's really, really important. And those things will be balanced up as part of the normal planning process. What the local plan says is we have this site, we have this need, whatever that thing is, and it's trying to say this is how those sort of developments can work. But what they will have to be able to do, I would say, in order to demonstrate whatever the plans they have, is how they are going to manage properly what you say about all these trucks coming in and out and doing whatever. They're going to have to demonstrate that it's not just a free-for-all. How they are going to manage that and make sure residents, particularly the road network as well, will be protected as part of that. Doesn't mean that there won't be increased traffic. Whether there is or there isn't, I'm not making a judgment on, but it's to say that you as residents and local people there are going to have a big a significant say and be able to put your point of view across against that planning application. I think that's really important. You also mentioned Heathrow House as a data. Where's Heathrow House?
Bradford. It's near Roxy, I think. It's the one opposite Roxy, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you said? Heathrow House is going to be a data centre. So, I mean, data centres, in a general sense, there is a presumption on moving, for the government, want more data centres. There is a big need for them, that's what they say. Now, there are issues, I would say, in a general sense that I have with that. Not that we don't need the data centres, but it's what the data centre does. What jobs does it provide? So I would want, personally, sitting on the planning committee, to understand exactly what that data centre in that area is going to provide for the residents in terms of jobs, in terms of additional, you talk about, you know, green space and open space. How are they going to be managing that? All applications coming forward need to look at biodiversity net gain. They're going to have to demonstrate that as well, and I would want increased on that, because we need to balance those things out. So again, it would be against planning, you know, against the planning guidelines, and it would still need to go through that planning application and permission process. I think having data centres is good, but it has to be in the right area, and it has to be done in exactly the right way.
Okay, thank you so much. We only got a few minutes left, so I've got one pre-submitted question here as well. But before I take that pre-submitted question, I'll take first the gentleman in the white shirt here, and then I'll move. So everybody will hopefully got their hands up now, will have their questions answered. Yes, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm a proud resident. I've been a freelance web developer for a number of years. I'm finally looking forward to hiring my first employee. One of the things I wanted to ask, because we've got, you know, such a wide selection of people here, what support is there to assist me with making my first hire, and ideally hiring people from diverse, underrepresented backgrounds such as special educational needs, working mums who might be re-entering the workforce after a while, you know, refugees. These are the kind of people I'd ideally like to help. So any organisation, signposting, council resources, very much, and anyone in the audience later. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your question.
If I could speak to you afterwards, I'll give you my details, because with the EDI, the equality, that is exactly what we want, and we do have plans, and I'll put you in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your question. I will come to you, sir, one moment, as sir in the black T-shirt. Thank you. Tim, over here. Yeah, just thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Balraj Sirre, and I submitted a question about the garden waste recycling service, which the Hounslow Council has been doing remarkably well. In the beginning, it used to be free service, but over the past several years, it keeps going up and up and up, and now it stands at £75. How does the council justify that? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
I didn't have to hear the first part of the question. What was the first part of the question? Garden waste. Was it garden waste?
Garden waste, about £75. Yeah.
To be very honest, sir, the prices have gone up in line with what other boroughs charge, and the cost of recycling has gone up. And so to be very honest, we had to increase the prices.
So just to add on to that,
we have to keep it in line with other boroughs as well.
So there's the benchmarking against other boroughs, but also, you know, that's not a profitable service. Even that £75, something has to happen with the garden waste that you throw away, and that's inevitably a cost to the council. So that's a service that pretty much covers its costs. And yes, Councillor Garrett was absolutely right. It has to keep up with other councils. It also has to keep up with inflation. And so whilst it is, you know, we'd love to offer that service for free, we're not obliged to offer a garden waste service. And as I say, that kind of holds up its cost. If anyone is on council tax support, they do get a reduction in the fee that they pay.
Well, it's a service provided by the council. We are not charged for the recycling of other containers, but we're only charged for the garden waste recycling.
So we're required by law to provide a service that collects your rubbish and your recycling, but not garden waste. Yeah, and your council tax pays for a lot of that.
Okay, we've got only a few more questions to go, so I'm going to go to this gentleman in the white T-shirt, then the gentleman in the blue T-shirt, and then the lovely lady in the green T-shirt, and then I've had the final pre-submitted question. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, right, very quickly, just regarding the health and well-being strategy that the council has. So there's been a huge surge of vape shops, as you're probably well aware, and fast food outlets, right? Okay, across the borough, particularly in Hounslow Central. Yet, the Executive Director of Public Health, Hounslow, is on record as saying, I'm concerned about the huge surge in children's vaping and childhood obesity. Fair enough. We could be tightening up the planning on that. That's an area we need to look at. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Hounslow yourselves are responsible for licensing business units, right? So no one is allowing vaping shops, fast food outlets in the borough except you guys. So is that not how it works? Okay.
Your question, sir, yeah? Only one question
Okay,
this time.
fine.
Thank you so much for that. Who would like to answer from the cabinet? Thank you.
I have held this portfolio amongst many others. I mean, we have some powers in that area, but we don't get to decide, where vape shops go. For example, well, they're very unregulated, really. So we, it's like shops that sell cigarettes. We don't get to decide that either. So when it comes to licensing, that generally refers to things like licensed premises where they sell alcohol, which there are stricter rules about. But again, we still don't get to decide which shops can and can't sell alcohol. We can put in restrictions, and we have put in restrictions in certain areas to say, actually, we think there's enough here, and we can stop more coming in. But we don't have the full power to say we don't want that. We're not going to have that. We're not going to allow that. So we would welcome, obviously, strengthening of the law in this area. But yeah, it's not a case of the council allows this. It's very much the area of private business, and there is some regulation, but very little.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to quickly add into health and wellbeing strategy. We've got a health and wellbeing board next week as well. And today, if I just highlight it to you, when we talk about our public health team, they have been doing amazing work on quit smoking and looking after the children. We've had an engagement plan at the Green School today where we were just talking about the youth offer, and we had everyone, children's plus all our teams from public health there, who were explaining children's what is not good and what's bad for them. And I think I'm proud of the public health team overall, what work they're doing with smoking and vaping and kind of trying to stop all this altogether, and keeping even an eye out on high street children's without, it's not even a job of our health and outreach team, but I have seen they have been going out and speaking to the youngsters at the high street.
Okay, thank you so much. We only got now 3 last questions. So first, the gentleman in the blue shirt, please. Thank you.
Everyone knows Alan.
Yeah, thank you.
So my name's Alan Rides, for those who don't know me.
Sorry, I didn't see you there. I just saw a part of your blue T-shirt. So sorry.
I've got a comment and I've got a question. My comment is, somebody runs the Bowls Club in Redleys Park. And I'd like to say how good it is. I was down there last night. The food was excellent. People go in there on weekends, and it's an amazing thing that the council have done there. Thank you. My comment as well is I get a lot of comments from local businesses asking how many contracts the councils can give to local companies instead of companies outside the borough. I would like to give them a good answer. Is it possible to have some statistics for the council about how much of the Hounslow pound is spent by the council in our borough? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. How much did Sue pay you for that comment? She kept a straight face. She did, yeah, absolutely. You make a valid point around procurement and the Hounslow pound staying within Hounslow. A large amount and I don't have exact figures, Alan, but I will endeavour to get them to you. I think in terms of social care providers, a large amount of the Hounslow Pound does stay in Hounslow because we've got a load of local suppliers. In terms of general procurement, we changed the procurement rules, the local procurement rules during the pandemic, because we realised that when the local economy suffers, actually we are a borough of SMEs. We've got over 15,000 SMEs in the borough, and supporting local business is really important. So there is a weighting in our procurement rules. Have we gone far enough? I don't think we have. I think we can do a lot more in that, and we are having those conversations internally. Obviously, the new procurement rules that came in last year do muddy the water a little bit, but nonetheless, there is a way through that. I think we're absolutely committed to supporting our local economy. And it's really great to see a local businessman, fledgling business here. Do join the Chamber of Commerce. There you go. I'll take my cut of the payment later.
All right, thank you so much. And our final question on the floor is the lady in green top. Thank you.
My final question is, so when we get the recycling carts coming down, as they're tipping the cardboard, glass, or whatever it is, they tend to drop some of it on the middle of the road, and it gets left there, especially food. And that's really annoying. I mean, I don't mind picking up the cardboard or a few bits, but it's really frustrating that it just gets left. And then if it's windy, it's just blowing around on the street. And my second question, is weeds. What's happening? How are you addressing the weeds?
Thank you. Okay, the answer to your first question, Mrs. Gill, is that this was mentioned to me last week by some residents from St. Paul's Close, that while the recycling team collects the boxes, they leave some stuff on the pavement. So I've asked the recycling team and their inspector that they should be checked and they should not leave anything behind when they're doing the recycling. As far as the weeds are concerned, we have brought in glycophosphate chemical, which we started using on 1st of July, and it's been sprayed. Which ward are you in? Heston East. I've got a timetable here. I can tell you when they're going to come and spray in your weed. Yeah. And we're going to do the first spray now, and then in the second week, what we are going to do is we're going to clear all the dead weeds, and then in September we are going to do another spray so that we make sure that we're on top of the weeds and things are clean. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And finally, I know I'm trying to get as many people in. I do apologise. If you do have any questions, and tonight you're not been a chance to ask, you're welcome to speak to the councillors' officers after tonight's meeting, and they will surely will get back to you all say tonight. So I do apologise, but we are on a tight time. Finally, the gentleman at the back, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for hearing me out. Right. I have a business in Staines Road in Hounslow Heath, and I've been there for 20 years, and I've been constantly harassed by the parking system. Every time my customers are driven away with a parking issue, they don't want to come. So my next question is this, that if the council is so determined to shut me down, can you give me a direction where I can come and leave the keys and give you my landlord's details so as we can deal with him?
Okay, thank you.
I've contacted, the last time I had this issue over parking, I contacted Seema Malhotra. She said she wouldn't be in a position to help me. Then I had contacted Virender Sharma in Ealing. He's the one who dealt with it. Would you want me to contact him again before I hand you the keys over to my shop?
Thank you for your question, sir. We have two spots. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, because this morning I've had a conversation with someone else. One is the Girewal Butcher End, which is next to Chahal, where is the parking which people are thinking that they need parking, and there is one Munster Avenue. Whereabouts your business is?
Mine is at the corner of Munster Avenue next to the post office.
Okay, that is this afternoon I've had a conversation with the leader, and I've had your email previously as well. We are working on that one, and with the COSI launch, I'm sure you will know that how big issue it has been with the parking from the both end. But with Munster Avenue, I'll come and speak to you after the meeting, and I'll let you know what I am thinking to propose to the local businesses.
On my end of the Munster Avenue, the council was always confused. Until the last time I asked them to take the keys off from me and shut me down and go away.
No, please don't feel like that.
And then
don't feel like that, please.
No, hold on. Suddenly, the council reacted and came out asking us to sign a petition, and then they start to sort out the parking issue.
Well, we do have 3 to 4 parking spaces at the front. I know there have been issue with the Lime Bike Bay as well, but we have worked on it for the front. And if you just talk about the plumbing shop, which
spaces.
Yeah.
So where do you expect my customers to go to?
I completely understand, and I think we've had a conversation not just with your shop, the plumbing shop. We've had a conversation with other 3-4 shops as well there. I'm happy to explain you what I feel we should do there. But please don't think that you're going to hand the keys back to us. We'll help and support you.
Well, where were you? I'm always at the shop. If you've had
any
conversation with
I was there 3 days ago next to the post office having a conversation about the Lime Bike Bay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we pick that up later. Okay, so finally, the final pre-submitted question is, why is Feltham High Street in Hanworth Ward? Should it not come under Feltham North? Just asking. And that is from Neighbourhood Watch, Cambria Court. Thank you very much.
So that is a classic case of boundaries. That's not actually within our control. The boundaries are set by a separate government department. There was a review of our boundaries a couple of years ago, and they deemed that part of that area would be designated under Hanworth Ward and part would be under Feltham West, I think it is. So we don't have much control over that. I think there's another boundary review in a couple of years' time. Maybe we'll have a look at it at that point.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We now come to the conclusion of tonight's meeting. So thank you for everybody who has turned up tonight. It shows that you care a lot for your community and you have a lot of passion in this room. Before we finish off, I'd like to pass to the leader of the council for the last few words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I echo those thanks from Taz, but I'd also like to put on record, on behalf of the Cabinet, our thanks to our chair this evening, Taz. It's not an easy job chairing, and you've done a fantastic job, so thank you for stepping in.
Well, so I mean, just I lost the words there a little bit. So thank you so much. And just want to say have a lovely rest of the evening and a very safe journey home. And a massive thank you to the Indian Gymkhana Club for hosting us this evening. Thank you.